Here I am in the meeting. Hello? Anybody there? Anybody there? Hello? Good.
Is it on?
Yeah. Come sit.
That's nice.
I just got kicked off for some reason.
Did you unplug the thing?
Yes.
Why? Who is that?
Oh, Victoria.
Oh, Vic,
Hmm?
Vic Whirling.
Oh,
Hello?
when I woke up, the whole thing was open. So then I just closed it and then turned it back open. And it went back to the beginning. So did you take it off?
There, come on.
Hmm? What? Where's Kendall Hall? Just
Okay, everyone. Folks on the call, let's see, please be sure that your computers are muted, or your phones, whichever you're on. This is Jessica here from marketing, and I'm just getting us set up before Diane kicked off the meeting. There's a few folks that I see keep unmuting themselves, so just please stay muted because we hear all your feedback here. We also have many residents here in Kendall Hall with us, so we're speaking in a microphone as well, so you may hear a bit of an echo. Okay, and why isn't it showing? Can everyone hear me? Okay, on the call, I see some thumbs up as well. Okay, let me just do a few more things here. Okay. Okay, we are recording. And I'm just making sure everyone's muted. Okay. All right, I'm going to introduce Diane here, the president of the Resident Association.
Thank you, and good morning. We're going to begin with a moment of quiet, please. Thank you. We're here in Kendall Hall today, and our meeting is going to have a little bit different format this morning because usually what we do is have all of the administration reports first, and then we turn to the Resident Association reports to keep all of you informed. But today what we're going to do is do all of the Residents Association matters, reports, and so on first. And then later on the agenda, Jan is going to go through our strategic plan for 2020 to 2025. And Felicia is going to talk about the budget that Kendall puts together each year, biannually, annually, so that we have a better understanding of that. And at the end of the reports, then I will give a little bit of background as to why we asked them to come today. First of all, I wanted to remind you of Kendall values and practices, and that we're respectful of one another. This is a busy time in the season politically. People's emotions are kind of getting like this, and there's a lot of divisiveness in our country. Let's remember to be thoughtful and considerate of everyone. This is our home. We can use it like our home, but we're also respectful of the other people who live in our home. Just as you have been very respectful of us, of everyone in the community and your practices, safe practices during the coronavirus. On to some announcements. We're going to have flu shots for all Kendall residents on September 30th. You will see more notices about that coming out. Another very good thing right now is that we're going to have another 3-part session with Kendall 101. This is for all of you who might learn for the first time or need a little bit of a refresher course on where do I find out this, or how do I go about doing this? One of the sessions will be on safety, and that really matters. So I urge you all to either attend here to the limit that we can have in Kendall Hall, or to tune into Zoom, and you'll see more notices of that coming out as time goes. At the end of the year, we're going to not be able to carry forward 600 dining points. We're going to go down to 300, and then you'll get 300 more, and so the maximum will be 600. So in planning your how you use those points, you might want to think ahead and order more groceries to use those points. And you can't do it all in 1 month. So plan ahead starting right now. This week, tomorrow and the next day, we're going to begin our getting to know you chats with Jan. Many of you have asked to do this, and Jan wanted to meet with all of you too. Did the screen go out? Did Zoom go out? It's coming up just Zoom to me.
And to me.
Somebody is doing a screen share.
Okay, it's, hold on a sec. I have that, it's Leland. Stop sharing. Okay. It's on Zoom. I put this on, no one else except for hosts can share, but some people sneak through, I don't know.
As I was saying, we're going to have these 10 sessions. We've worked out a worksheet so that all of you people on the campus who would like to come will be able to come here. The time that's listed on your invitation is, this isn't a reception. This is please arrive at the time so we can start promptly. These will be approximately 1 hour. The host or hostess for each one of these will be a member of our residence council. These are an opportunity for us to get to know Jan and for her to know us. And so we're going to have a question so that each of you can answer the same question. And so it also is, we hope you can greet Jan too, finally. Okay, the next thing, the planning committee met this last Friday. This is a committee made up of 4 residents, and it's made up of about the same number of people from our core leadership team. And we have really lively debates. Sometimes administration will say, let's try this, and we'll say, no, not yet. And sometimes we'll say, let's do this or try this or that, and the administration will say, no, not yet. But we have good discussions, and we very much appreciate being involved in the decisions that go forward. One of the decisions that was made at last Friday's meeting is, as you have seen from the notices, that there's only going to be daytime hours covered at our checkpoint. So that means 2 more people go on maintenance, and we're saying hooray to that. We discussed some about some possible air purifying systems. They're costly, and they aren't filtering out the coronavirus. So we decided that we'll just put that on hold for now. We're going to continue doing more fine-tuning of how we can have the fitness center better utilized for longer hours. And I'm not sure what form that will take, but we hear that people really want to use the fitness center, and we want to make it as accessible as we can safely. And the last thing I feel like we should throw balloons up in the air is we're going to begin taking steps to dining downstairs. Now, we're just putting our toes in the water right now. What you will soon get is a questionnaire. If you would be interested in dining downstairs, this will be, we're going to try out a system, whereas it will be 1 meal a day, and we are only able to have 25% of the residents in Kendall Hall or in the new dining room at a time. So before we can make up the list, we have to see how many people would like to do this. This will be at approximately 1 o'clock after the meals have gotten out for those that are going to still be getting delivery. More of the details will come out, but this will be table service, or you will order what you want, and then the wait staff will bring it to you. It will be on real dishes with real silverware. So that will be very nice, and we'll need to bus our own dishes. So as we keep on proceeding forward, we're really glad that we are going to have this opportunity, and we're still working on the details, but it is going to happen. Yay. CNE is planning some events, or in the process of planning some events, so we're going to be able to use our new terrace, veranda, patio, whatever, outside. And so look forward to hearing some announcements from them about what will be coming up. And we will be, all of this information is going to continue to be available on Katie Webb, in Extra. So please keep informed. and some of the announcements that come out from administration. I believe that the survey about if you're going to be interested in eating in the dining room will come out on the Survey Monkey soon with paper copies to people, so we can see who does want to do this before then some of the administrative details go on. Now, I'm going to ask Joe Scavira, who is the convener of our nominating committee, to come up, Joe. And he's going to tell you about the nominating process for the resident council and resident association, because we're in the fall period of time and he's going to be doing that.
Okay, looking good.
Good morning. This is the time of the year when we get the slate, put together the slate for officers for next year. I thought I'd take just about 2 minutes to tell you how we go through this process, because you all have a role to play. The Residence Council establishes a nominating committee of 5 members. 3 of these people should be either past presidents or vice presidents, and then 2 other residents. We also have to identify what the vacancies will be this year in 2021. And we're going to need to replace our vice president whose term is up. And we have to fill 3 council at large positions. So we will be looking for 4 candidates. You, and this is your role in all of this, you have the right, responsibility, and I hope enthusiasm to nominate some officers for next year. And you do that by either contacting me. You can send me an email and say, I want to suggest so-and-so for this. If you want to suggest yourself, that's perfectly acceptable. We're happy to have you sign up. And you can also approach the other members of the nominating committee, and I'll list them out for you: Malou Pigari, Karen Russell, Mary Stratton, or Bob Bradish. And you'll notice if you check those names out, we've sort of spread them out so that each of what I call neighborhood on the campus is represented on the committee. And I hope that each neighborhood on the campus will be represented in the council for next year. The nominating committee will put together all the recommendations, and we'll try to choose the people they think would be best qualified to serve in these positions. And then we will approach these people and say, would you like to serve as an officer on the council and on the association? When we get the required number of people accepting, we will build a slate. I'll send a copy to every one of you so that you'll see who is nominated. And then on November 18th, our last Residents Association meeting of the year, we will seek your consensus approval of the slate. If you have any questions, I'm going to get out of the way now, but you can see me at any time. I'll be happy to talk to you about the nomination process. Thank you.
Hey y'all, and again, Jessica here, marketing department. If Katie and Kevin are watching and monitoring from their computers, come on in Kendall Hall now. We're moving along great. Katie will tell you more, but we have 4 upcoming move-ins, which is, I think, just amazing. We're currently at about 94% occupancy. There's 10 cottages and apartments that are not occupied right now, but 6 of those are spoken for, and 4 of them will be occupied by the end. Actually, 5 of them will be occupied by November 1st. So we're really happy to see things moving along, and a few internal moves underway, and everything is just great. And I'll have Katie talk to you a little bit more about the folks that are moving in.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, as Jessica said, things are starting to move along. On September 30th, we are welcoming Karen and Frank Fabry. They're coming to 324 on Sunrise Ridge from Wilmama, Florida. And then on October 1st, we will welcome John and Elizabeth Harrelson to Cottage 124 on Sycamore. They're from Lexington. For those that don't know Elizabeth, she's going to be a wonderful addition. I know many of you know her. On October 8th, we welcome Peter Klepper. He is moving to 99 Sycamore from Bethesda, Maryland. And then finally released on October 15th, we welcome Jeffrey Berg to Cluster Cottage 1031 from Stamford, Connecticut. And then we're expecting one more on November 1st, but we'll provide more information when we can. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Kevin Cavanaugh from marketing. Jessica asked me to just update you on the fact that we are now doing try-it visits again, kind of a modified try-it because we still can't have prospects stay on campus, but we did have somebody come on Monday who stayed overnight at her own expense at a hotel in Lexington, but she did a modified try-it. So we were able to have her have lunch on campus. Diane Herrick and John South hosted her on the patio behind Sunnyside, so they were able to eat outdoors. But the two important pieces of this in terms of prospects learning about Kendall and deciding whether they want to move here is she got to sample the wonderful food from our kitchen, having lunch. I think she chose the shrimp entree on Monday, and then having an opportunity to speak with current residents. So she was able to ask all of those questions that prospects ask their very first time visiting a life plan community like Kendall and Lexington. So excited that we were able to do that. We then went on a golf cart tour of the campus, driving around, looking at all of the buildings. We still don't allow visitors inside the main buildings, but we do allow them inside the vacant cottages, and I showed her 5 of them. Then after we were done touring the campus, we arranged for a private viewing inside one of the downtown Lexington art galleries, had a little wine, a little happy hour. And then the next morning she returned to the campus. I showed her one more cottage and answered her question, showed her pre-admission paperwork, of course, showed her priority waitlist paperwork, and secured her promise that she will join our priority waitlist, even though she's a youngster, only 62. We on campus today, but down the road we hope to have future residents. So try-its, modified try-its have begun. Thank you.
Thank you. It really was a pleasure to meet Carlene out on the back patio. It was a beautiful day, and to do what we had done before in that way and to talk about Kendall and Brim Over. I was just sad that she's only 62 and isn't going to move in now, because I think we would enjoy her and that she would enjoy the stimulation here on the campus. We're now going to begin the staff, our administration, talking about the strategic plan and the budget. And I want to give you a little bit of background because you all made budget suggestions, and as resident council considered all of these together, we wanted to look at the strategic plan and see if we could fit it together. Jan will tell you more about this. And we realized that we had questions too about how the budgeting, the capital budget and the annual budget work together with the strategic plan. So we asked them to come to the resident council meeting. This was so beneficial that we knew that it would be very beneficial for you to be seen and learning more about this too. So I'm going to turn this over now to Jan, who has some announcements, and she'll go on, carry on from there.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So before I get started with my report, I want to take a moment to allow Megan Worley, our Director of HR, to introduce Desiree Schofield, who is the newest member of our HR team here at Kendall at Lexington. Megan?
Morning, everybody. We have a lot going on in the HR department, and a lot of it is very exciting. The most exciting thing for me is Desiree has joined us. I met Desiree several years ago at another not-for-profit organization we worked at together, Lutheran Family Services of America. And when I meet remarkable people, I always try to make note of that talent and keep it in mind in case I ever need it down the road. And I was lucky enough to have this opportunity, and I was extremely fortunate to have Desiree accept that opportunity. We're working on a lot of things right now. Some of the things you may not know is for about a year before I came on board, no filing had been done. So in file cabinets, there were stacks of paper about that big. So Desiree has done a beautiful job working through a lot of that already. Her special talents definitely offset mine, and one of them is organization. I'm not the most organized person, but this young lady is. She's also very artistic and creative. So one of the things that she's done since she started here was create a travel bulletin board for our staff. And it's really nice. It's actually down near the staff, the other bulletin boards and the time clock. And it tells people about areas that they can safely travel to within a day's drive. So it puts options out there because we do want our staff to take time off and enjoy time away from work. And this will possibly give them some ideas on safe travel spots that they can go to and not be at high risk of COVID. We are also going to be working on updating policies and procedures. Desiree is currently working on doing a benchmarking study on compensation because we are coming up on budget time. One of the big challenges we have right now is finding good staff to work in some of our other areas that may be lesser compensated. So we really want to make sure as we enter the new year, we are equitable and we're in line with our nearby career competitors, I would call them, as far as dining services, housekeeping, maintenance, and CNAs. And unfortunately, even though it's a beautiful thing for a lot of people that were negatively impacted by COVID as it relates to their job, the additional $300 a week stipend that's being paid to people who are receiving unemployment benefits has created quite a challenge for us to be able to recruit people during this time, because in essence, there's a lot of people that can make more money sitting at home. So it's been a real challenge for us to try to find talent right about now, but hopefully as things open back up, Desiree and I can start attending job fairs or even hosting job fairs. So there's a lot going on, as I mentioned, and that's just a small part of it, but we also have open enrollment for benefits coming up in November, and that'll be a huge thing because obviously Desiree and I are going to be really busy communicating with staff and making sure they feel educated and comfortable with all of our benefit options that we have going into 2021. But I don't want to monopolize this conversation because the real point is so you guys can get to know Desiree. So I will let her say a little bit about herself in case you guys haven't seen her around campus so that you can get to know her as well, even if it is only virtually. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I always say it's dangerous to give me a microphone because I'm the daughter of 2 ministers in a family full of ministers and pastors. So I will keep this brief. I'm very excited to be here with you all. I've been here for about 2 weeks and it's been so nice. Everyone I've met has been so warm, so open, so welcoming, especially Miss Diane. She's definitely made sure that I feel a part of the team. A little bit about myself. I live in Roanoke, Virginia, so it is a bit of a hike here, but it's good. I get motivated and ready to be here every day, and then on the way home, I definitely can decompress and give my family everything that I can. I'm newly engaged. Really excited about that. It was a long time coming. I have a wonderful, crazy blue pit dog who is full of energy and the biggest baby in the world. But work-life balance has been better than I thought it would be coming here with the drive every day. So I'm excited to be here. I hope that I can meet more of you all and actually get a chance to get to know you a little more. I don't know what you would necessarily need from me, but if you ever just want an optimistic word, come by my office. I'd love to see you. All right, guys, have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Desiree and Megan. So I am definitely excited about the fall weather. It's been fantastic. Being from Florida for 4 years, I had no idea what season it was. It was just always hot. So I woke up this morning, 49 degrees, and I thought, oh, yes, I am home for sure. We continue to move forward in step 3. We do hope that you are enjoying your outdoor visits with family and friends. Opening our campus to outside visitation does increase our risk, so please make sure that you're adhering to the basic practices of wearing masks, washing hands, appropriate physical distancing, and make smart decisions. Now, I know that many of you are thinking, Jan, you've told us this 100 times. So we are now up to 101, and I will continue to remind each time we are together because it is so important to keep us all safe. An update on testing in the Borden Center. The CDC has released new guidelines, and our testing is now based on the number of positive cases in our local county. Depending on the number of positive cases, we could be testing staff, contractors, and vendors monthly, or as much as twice a week. So those numbers are updated every 2 weeks. We will be checking those and then making the adjustments according to the posted rates. So as Diane said, we've decided to bring back 2 of the maintenance men, and from the front screening station, new hours for coverage will be 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. We are asking that all visitation happens between those hours so that we are confident that people are being screened for the protection of all. I also did want to say, and Diane had touched on this, that we are investigating a few options for better air handling systems within our buildings. We know that it is important, considering the COVID pandemic, that cleaner air is healthier air. So please note that these systems will not prevent COVID, but they will help to keep us a bit safer. We continue to interview for our health services administrator position. We do want to thank Karen Jackson again for stepping up and serving in that role until we find the right candidate. As many of you know, Sybil has decided to take advantage of another opportunity and has resigned her position. We are actively interviewing for that position. Kelly Helmenthaler is no longer our interim resident clinic nurse and RN clinical supervisor for our assisted living, but instead will serve in the role permanently. So Kelly accepted the job last week, and we are so delighted to have her as a member of our core leadership team. Internal promotions are always exciting for everyone, so we will help her be successful in this new role. I know that turnover is not easy for anyone, including all of you, but please know that we are dedicated to serving the residents and staff of Kendall, and we'll do our very best to find the right people to fill those positions. COVID, construction, change in management, retirement, and advancement opportunities all have played a part in the changes that you are seeing in staffing. We are committed to moving forward, and we will do so. Construction update for phase 3. We are still pushing the contractor hard for the given completion date at the end of the year. Lots of work is happening in the Borden and Webster centers, as well as work on the Sunrise Ridge to comply with the DEQ requirements. Work has started on the grass channel between the cottages on Sunrise Ridge with rough and fine grading, as well as sod planted between cottages 300 and 312. Some rock removal was done, although there is still a lot more to do. They are planning aeration and reseeding in the next week or so, weather permitting. We still have an outstanding punch list of items, but we do feel that we are moving in the right direction and continue to press hard. So that concludes my report, and we'll now move into the strategic plan. So I am going to attempt to put all of this into about 20 minutes.
I'm gonna get here so I can do share screen. Okay. Are you all seeing looking forward strategic plan? Okay, thank you, Kevin. Just taking a. Okay, be sure to keep your Screen's on mute. Everybody looks good. Okay, let's test this. And all right, Jan, you're ready. Actually, I can minimize these folks so it doesn't take up so much of your screen.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, I would like to start the presentation by saying that the development of this strategic plan was a long and in-depth process that included staff, residents, board members, and discussions with people from the community at large. It was also completed pre-pandemic. That being said, we will obviously emphasize the need for flexibility as we roll out the plan and the need to consider how the playing field has changed as a result of COVID. So a little background, strategic planning is an organization's process of defining its strategy or direction and making decisions on allocating its resources to pursue the strategy. Strategic planning is meant to be a long-term look, typically 3 to 5 years. It encompasses an organization's priorities with both long and short-term goals. Some of those goals may be phased over the life of the strategic plan, and others may be accomplished in a more immediate manner. This is not to be confused, though, with our yearly budget plan or capital budget that we ask all of you to contribute to your ideas to each year. Some of those budget suggestions may have little to do with the established strategic plan, but we need to make them happen for the residents. Any way you look at it, there's only so much money, and balancing the strategic plan priorities with the day-to-day needs is always a challenge. So building on the values and practices that made this the wonderful, cohesive, and supportive community you all enjoyed prior to COVID's interference, we want to continue to build Calyx as the best possible life plan community. One that is not only physically attractive, but is populated by an attractive to physically and intellectually active people who benefit from each other and the surrounding community and are recognized as an important asset to the greater Lexington community. So as you can see, there are 6 areas of importance, and I'm on page 3 for those of you who are in here listening to me from Kendall Hall. The 6 areas of importance were established by the Strategic Planning Committee and were meant to be a guide to provide recommendations for the strategic plan. So those 6 topics include emerging trends, which end up to be the wants and needs of current and future residents, information technology, otherwise known as IT, strong culture that attracts the best employees. Megan talked a little bit about that, it's crucial. Community engagement, both external and internal. Routine and specialty medical care for our residents. And last but not least, preserving energy resources, both locally and globally. Each of the priorities were assigned a task group and recommendations were created. So the first task force focused on emerging trends, and they explored the following: smart age technologies and in-home services to allow residents to age in place appropriately, workforce challenges, competition and pricing services and contract options, future needs, apartments versus cottages, support service on the campus, transportation, dining venues and options for choice, and look at community spaces and physical design. Task Group 2 had the task of looking at information technology. We all know that that is a level of importance, and the subject, or it's a level of importance both now and into the future. So it was determined that an IT committee or an information technology committee be established to advocate and advise the team, and that would be the management team, regarding technology needs now and into the future. A need to commit to funding the needed technology for safety, security, and privacy, and determine the availability of the Kendall Corporation resources that can help us improve our services and potentially reduce our overall costs. Page 6, task group 3, looked at work culture. Work culture is such a key factor in our ongoing success. Finding the best employees, as Megan said, to carry out our mission will be absolutely critical for us. This work group honed in on a decent livelihood for all employees, but paying particular attention to those less compensated. Enhance retention by looking at the workplace environment and compensation. Enhancing positive relations between staff and the local community. Selling the importance of working in a life plan community and how rewarding that can be for our employees. And implement mechanisms for ongoing evaluations of both quantitative and qualitative metrics to maintain a strong work culture. Task group 4. In an effort to continue to build positive community relations, this task force recommended the following. Maintain Kendall's commitment to our values and practices as we continue to grow. Position Kendall as a local and regional expert in aging and dementia issues. Remain and enhance ourselves as an active partner and resource to the community at large. Promote the Kendall story for all levels, including the Borden Center. Be aware of community concerns and input. Task group 5 focused on the availability of medical care with the longer term recommendations of identifying a medical provider, or identifying medical provider opportunities for our Kendall campus to provide services in our resident clinic, as well as sharing those services with the greater Rockbridge County population. And then shorter term goals would look at exploring transportation needs and possible services for healthcare related appointments, and recruiting qualified staff for our Kendall Clinic based on a survey and a needs assessment of our campus. Task group 6 looked at focus on resource preservation that focuses on energy, water, trash, and collaboration. Those recommendations on page 10 included energy conservation with LED lighting, motion detector switches, solar and electric vehicles. And we heard from many of you about electric vehicles as we start to turn over our campus vehicles and how important that is. Reduction of portable water usage and increased use of rainwater. Recycling, composting, and reduction of waste. And collaboration with the Sustainability Committee to assist in our efforts. So, even at a high level, you can see that our strategic plan encompasses a number of priorities and will need the collaboration of all to achieve success. So, where will the strategic plan take us over the next 5 years? I would have to say a magic ball would be very helpful, but considering, considering all the changes that have occurred since its approval, since that is not going to happen, I tried to do my very best to outline what each of the 6 priorities will mean for residents and staff. So on page 11, under emerging trends, census, census, census. It's important that we stay on top of the current and future trends so that we stay competitive And we maintain a high census to keep the costs spread out among many as opposed to just a few residents. Information technology, whether we want it or not, it's very important that we strengthen our systems, platforms, and security. Look to the future for smart technology as well. We have to stay on top of what's coming and what is looming ahead of us. Work culture. I know how important the staff are to all of you. Many of you remind me on a regular basis about how important they are. Many of you, recruitment and retention is a big part of our success as a community. So the focus on work culture and our employees is going to be key moving into the future. Community engagement. Our external engagement is important, but just as important is to enhance our campus engagement through Katie Webb, conversation pods, and additional technology. Medical services, bringing enhanced medical services to our campus will add convenience and expand our ties to the greater community. And resource preservation, reduce our impact on the environment. It truly is about all of us leaving the world a better place for future generations. As I said in the beginning, a strategic plan is not the end-all be-all, but it is a guide to move us into the future. There will be tweaks, changes in directions, challenging conversations, and at times, frustration. So I hope that at a very high level, I was able to condense many months of conversation and research into an understandable format for each and every one of you. It is going to take all of us together to move the strategic plan forward. And I will look to all of you to help guide me and the team as well through the next 3 to 5 years. Felicia?
Hi, y'all. Jessica again, just stopping the share here so you can see Felicia bigger in the screen. Can you all see me here with my mask on? Okay. Here you go, Felicia.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Let me just adjust this. Okay, great. And I know everybody always says I talk very fast, so I will try to slow down. That's my Midwestern Wisconsin. Okay, okay, so I don't want to be too loud. So what I'm going to do is just a little education piece on the budget and how we do the budget. So the annual budgeting, which we started here at the end of August, has really two components to it. There's the operating budget, which is our day-to-day operations, where we budget for revenue and expenses. And this includes, the expenses include everything from wages and benefit for staff, food in the dining room, lawn maintenance, building upkeep, interest on our debt, software licenses, office supplies, postage, all of those items. So that's one piece of the budget, the operating piece. The second piece is the capital budget. And just to define what capital purchases are, we have what's called a capitalization policy, and ours states that anything that costs over $1,000 and has a useful life of over a year is something we capitalize. Now, there's a little leeway in there. As an accountant, as a CPA, we have a little professional judgment of how that can be. And just to explain, think about paint. We paint a cottage that costs $5,000. That's over $1,000, and that lasts over a year, but that's really just a repair. That gets expensed, okay? You buy a piece of equipment, that's easy. Buy a new golf cart, those are capitalized. Let's say I buy a bunch of waste baskets, and they might cost $1,000, and they last a long time, but usually you don't capitalize waste baskets. So there is some professional judgment there. Going back to the painting, now when we renovate a cottage or an apartment and it costs X amount of dollars, that includes paint. But usually we're doing extensive renovations, cabinets, flooring, all of that. we capitalize that and depreciate it over, let's say, 10 years. So many items in the operating budget are non-discretionary. We don't have a lot of control over. We have a commitment for all the residents for the resident care agreement to provide food and health care and safe living environments. So we do have controls to watch those costs and be prudent, but we still have to provide food. That's not something we can cut out of the budget. We also have little control over certain fees that are charged by outside vendors, Dominion Power. We don't have control over that, what they charge us. We do have control over how much usage. We can be smarter in our usage. Same thing with Rockbridge County, the tax assessments. I think I could go to the county courthouse and complain about the taxes, but I'm probably not going to have a whole lot to say about that. How the operating budget and the capital budgets are intertwined. They're not mutually exclusive. It's not the operating budget and the capital budget. So you buy a capital item, one of those items that last for 5 years. Well, you pay for that at one time, but how it affects the operating budget is you depreciate that over its useful life, let's say 5 years. So you buy something, you pay for it, and then it affects the operating budget because you depreciate it over that 5 years. So all the items on campus, the buildings, the landscaping that was initially put in, all the equipment is being depreciated. And that's part of my operating budget, is what I anticipate that depreciation is going to be. Let's see here. I do have notes because if I don't, I forget. And it's really, as Jan had mentioned, even with the strategic plan, budgeting is a balancing act. We have many stakeholders. You as residents are stakeholders, staff are stakeholders, the board and their vision for with the strategic plan, they're stakeholders. And then also we have outside agencies, the Department of Health. We don't think of them as a stakeholder, but they have a lot of say in maybe what those capital items are going to be or what those purchases are going to be. We might decide that, residents of the board and center don't really eat that much. Well, the government regulates of how much food we have to provide, even if it's wasted. So there's things that we have to do that we don't have a lot of say over. So similar to what you have to do in your household, and all of us, have lived before we moved into community, we have to prioritize those capital budgets. So once we get all these requests together, we meet as a CLT team and we prioritize those. The first thing that's going to be on there is regulatory. If there is something that required by the Department of Health or any of all the agencies that regulate us, that's number one priority, something we have to do. Second priority is going to be safety. If we decide, okay, outside, the cement has shifted on our sidewalks, we've got to take care of that for the safety of the residents and the staff. Next thing we do is we've done, and especially this year, is to treat the strategic plan. There's many initiatives the board has looked at and has kind of given vision to the organization. That's going to take priority. Resident requests. Residents have made requests. We try to incorporate that. And then we as CLT members or management, we have requests too. I'd say there's wants in there, but I don't think in the 14 years I've been here, wants really enter the picture. It's usually those requests. And they might be to replace a piece of equipment. It might be to make their job a little bit more efficient, those type of things. So at the beginning of the budget cycle, all these different stakeholders are given a voice when we solicit requests from all those different stakeholders. Now the role of the board, I won't go into too much, but the board ultimately has the responsibility for the future direction, the vision of the organization. And as Jan had talked about, we went through that extensive, very thoughtful strategic planning process. And as Jan had mentioned, there were quite a few areas that were identified in the strategic plan. And I think as the CFO here, what I see really is something that's very, not only obvious, but an expensive piece is that information technology. It really has changed so much, even in the time that I've been here, of how that affects staff and residents and really so much of what we do. When our computers are down, basically I can't function, really, or I function not very efficiently. Because there's just nothing you can do when the computers are down. And this is a little bit new, and even with the strategic planning being new, in the past, our boards have always had that vision, always had planning, but so much has been concentrated on the expansion. You think about, it's taken a lot of energy over the years, building the community, adding a few apartments or cottages, phase 2 where we added Sycamore Lane and the addition and the fitness center, and now in Kendall Hall, and the renovations we did to Sunnyside, and now adding Sunrise Ridge and the renovations. So that's been kind of the focus in the past, and I think now we know that we probably, if we do expansion, it's going to be quite a ways away. Now we're going to concentrate on where we're going to be as a community. Okay, a detailed capital budget is prepared annually. That's what I'm in the process of doing. We also, for our CARF accreditation, we do accreditation, our accrediting body every 5 years, as all of you know that have been here a long time. But annually, I have to do reporting to CARF. I report to them census, and I also provide them budgets, projections for 2 years. So why I do put projections in there for capital, I don't typically have a detailed list of those capital items. Is that something we should do? I think yes. Just talking with Jan and some of the CLT members, what our goal is going to be is try to do a more detailed capital budget for 2 or 3 years. It's not going to be perfect, but identify those items. And I wrote here as a note, are we clueless as to what needs to be done? No. If you remember, for folks that were here, in 2015, we had what was called a facility assessment, where we had someone came in that looked at all of our equipment, furnishings, fixtures, all across the entire campus, looked at those life expectancies and projected out for us what we expected our needs, capital needs would be for 20 years. And what that was had a present value of a little over $10 million. So we definitely know or have an idea of when those roofs need to be replaced and those water heaters and all those type of stuff. Have we done any of those projects? We have. Some of that we've done when we do the apartment and cottage turnovers. That's part of it, included in that facility assessment. Also, when that facility assessment included many items in the Webster and the Borden Center. Well, many of the items in Webster and Borden with these renovations have been replaced. A couple times, we've had all these lightning strikes. Some of the things that have been struck and we had to replace have been also in that facility segment. So we have done stuff. Do we have more to do? Herbie will tell you, yeah, there's lots to do. We have roofs and we have downspouts and gutters and carpeting and heat pumps and boilers. A lot of that stuff has to be over the next 20 years. And there again, that also is part of that capital budget. So in the past, I kind of looked back just out of curiosity what we had budgeted since I've been here. 2007, we budgeted under $200,000 for capital. In the beginning, we were new. We didn't need a budget as much. We didn't have as much resources. 2015, we budgeted $2.6 million. We didn't spend all that. That included a full site generator. But we did budget it. And I think I'm going to go back at some point just for my own to see how much we actually spent in those capital budgets. Now, many times when we prepare the capital budget, do we do everything in that capital budget? No. A lot of things come up that we have to do, unforeseen. So when we build the capital budget, I always have a portion, 10%, 15%, depending, that we call contingency. And sometimes contingency gets to be a lot more than the regular capital budget. So we've got that built in there. So priorities change and things happen. Kind of with the budgeting process, and this is always for new managers, they said, if I budgeted for something 2020 and we didn't do it for whatever reason or I didn't need it, is that carried over to the next year? You got to ask for it again. So every year priorities change. If you want something, it has to be re-requested and we re-evaluate it and we reprioritize. And just as an example, the 2-pipe system for folks who've been here with the South Building, that's been considered, reconsidered. We've done some adjustments to make that better. But I'll just tell you as a thing, the residents that are in the South Building have been extremely patient with the 2-pipe system. As for paying for the capital assets, we don't fund depreciation. I know people mention that to me, and as an accountant, I'd never heard that. I don't know if that's an oral term, but what the board of directors has done is they've designated a portion of our net assets, which if you're at a for-profit entity, that's your retained earnings, capital replacement. We finally call that the Norm Fund in honor of Norm Jones, something that the Finance Committee and the board has done. And there again, those are unrestricted funds. At the end of July, that capital replacement fund has $2.2 million. Now the cash for making those, or if we're going to make any capital improvement, comes from our investments. As everyone has mentioned, and Jessica will say, and Jan will say, we've got to, it's imperative that we keep up our campus for lots of different reasons. Resident satisfaction, marketing to new residents, we have to keep up. I've heard of communities that don't keep up, and it's difficult to attract new folks. Also for compliance, if we don't keep up our facility, we could get dinged by some of the folks that come in. So when I talk about we have to keep up campus, it's not only going to be the aesthetics, it's going to be the infrastructure, it's going to be that technology. Some of that stuff's not very glamorous. Just like, you might want to get a whole new living room furniture, decorate your house, but then the water heater breaks. You have to prioritize. You don't get your new sofa, you have to buy a water heater. So what I think we have to remember here is that we live in a community, that we all have to think about, not just ourselves, what as a whole is going to be good for the community, for everyone. The other thing is our goal with the capital budgeting and the annual budget is we want to be systematic, we want to be proactive, we don't want to just be reactive. We want to plan and be smart about what we spend our resources on. And like our neighbors in the South Building, we want to be patient and we want to be kind. That's all I have. If anyone has questions, I don't know if we're taking them, or you can always call or come see me in my in the accounting department. Thank you all.
I was just asking Jessica if we had time for questions, and she said, she looked at the clock and said, no, not this time. Listening to those two reports, I thought we're so fortunate to have such gifted people on our leadership team here. I thought that both of the reports were very enlightening for all of us and helped to answer questions, talked about the future, the directions, how the decisions made get implemented. And I think that that's part of our process as a community of how we work together. We do as residents, but we also have a wonderful administrative staff that's carrying forth with this. So I want to thank both of you, all of you. And hearing from Megan was really informative too about some of what her issues are that we don't see as much all the time, but we certainly see our wonderful staff. Let's show our staff and our appreciation. This is a tough time for all of us. I'm glad to live here in our community. I thank you. And this is the end of our Residents Association meeting for September.
Well done.
Let me just look at the chat real quick. That was impressive.